I'm Chase.
And I'm Timothy.
And this is Customer Service.
Rondo. You know what, bro? I realized midway through this pod, too. We are approaching the end of summer. I know it's raining and shit, but it's dark out there right now, dude. And we're in this windowless room, even with the lights painted, or walls
it's like
painted
rainy
lighter.
And shit today.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a little bit of an anomaly for that. We don't normally do evening pods. Number one, they're normally a very we're a day or morning person. So this is
Absolutely.
This is a little different for us. So how are we doing this evening?
Whew, it's good, brother. I'm a little sweaty. I've got the thing going on where it's like it was going to be colder today. It's air conditioning's bumping, but in this room, our hot air is contained similar to that of a hot air balloon, and it feels like we're just living in each other's humidity.
Yeah, we're just breathing in each other's carbon dioxide.
I might as well just breathe into your mouth and vice versa, but that's where we're at. So we're good, bro. We're good. It's been a busy week, and we had a fucking sick guest that I've been looking forward to for quite a long time on today.
Go ahead, bring him in.
Ryan Resurreccion from Engineered Garments.
Depending on what you ask, he is the director of wholesale. He is director of communications.
I think it was head of communications, director of wholesale, head of communications.
Yeah.
He handles special projects, collaboration, global wholesale everywhere outside of Japan. They have a separate team for Japan.
We've known him for a while now. We've always liked going back and forth with him. He's helped us with the collaboration. I mean it's been cool to get to know him. We've kind of gotten to be buddies over the years, going back and forth, and we wanted to have him on the pod so we could talk engineered garments. So
talk EG. I mentioned it on the pod, and we don't need to get too deep into it, but it was the first piece that I got working at the store. I'm pretty sure that was the first piece I purchased, and it was a work shirt, first piece of EG, and it was kind of automatic from there. Kind of took any guesswork out, just buy EG because it's the best shit. So, we worked with Ryan for our collaboration last year, working with him for the collaboration this year. It was cool to hear kind of how he got into the world, you know what I mean? And without spoiling anything, it's similar to how a lot of the people in our sphere got into this world of clothing and fashion.
Yeah, just kind of like the ethos on collaborations and how Engineered Garments works. And even though it will still always kind of be the mystery that it is, it was kind of fun to pull the curtain back just a little bit. And also, too, when you're listening, please stay till the end. I mean, I always encourage you to do it, especially with the guests. But if you don't have the video portion, definitely pop onto it if you can, because he walks us through some completely unreleased collaborations with Engineered Garments that was really fun to look at.
Some of the prelim samples, some that didn't go into actual commercial production, some that maybe you have seen on the shelves at stores and shit. Just for real, an absolute pleasure. Nicest fella. Hoping that we can get the team out here in some regard for some sort of situation, some sort of party. But let's not dwell too much longer. Let's pop into it.
All right, let's jump right in.
Cool.
So, like, have you always been working in fashion, or was this one of your first?
Oh, kind of interesting. I was actually thinking about this earlier. So my start really started maybe, I can't really recall. It's been a long time now. I mean, I've always kind of been behind the scenes. Started off with like brands, they're like, hey, do you want to come help us out? I'm like, sure. So help out with sales, sometimes production as well. So kind of like started from that, and then did that for maybe 5-6 years. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I want to kind of get like formal education in this. Hence why I moved out to New York almost 10 years ago. So I came out here, went back to school, studied fashion as more of a general perspective. Just kind of get, well-rounded education, and then came back. Or after that, started working at a retail store in Soho. Did that for a little bit, and then started doing sales for them. And that was it. And then here I'm at EG.
Hell yeah, man. Where are you from originally?
San Francisco.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Born and raised?
Not in San Francisco proper, but I was born in Oakland, and then I was raised in a small city, maybe about 20-30 minutes south of Oakland. It's called Union City, next to Hayward, Fremont, kind of like that Tri-City area.
Yeah. Those all sound familiar. We ship a lot to those areas in particular.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. Nice.
Yeah. Well, one of our buddies, Cooper, who used to work at the shop. I talk about Cooper like everybody knows him because he worked here for so long. But he's from Burlingame, so we have some little connection there.
We also kind of have, because like Boulder's turned into a bit of a tech central as well, like old San Francisco to a certain degree. It feels like so many people from San Francisco are here as well. So I feel like we meet people from there constantly.
Right. That was kind of like the natural progression. Like, once so pretty much I left San Francisco 2015. Shortly before that, maybe like 2011 to 12, you start to see that transition into, into tech. So a lot of my friends started to find other places to live. So one of them was Colorado, and the other one was Texas.
Oh, like Austin?
Yeah, Austin. Yeah. They're like, I had some people that would come back and visit, and also like they're thinking about moving out there. Like, it's basically just like San Francisco. So they said it's kind of like the natural progression.
Yeah, I would even say a lot of people that I met when I first moved here, I'm from Cleveland, and when I first moved here, I feel like a lot of them have also picked up and moved to Austin. Austin feels like the next place for a lot of cities right now.
Definitely.
Was it like, did it feel like a big transition from San Francisco to New York? Or is it kind of, like for us, like I'm from Indiana originally, he's from Ohio originally. I lived in Chicago before I did this, and that felt like a big move for me. Even though it's not that far, it felt like such a big difference in like lifestyle and everything. But I don't know, San Francisco is a pretty big city, and if you're close to it, that must feel, like you're kind of part of something bigger. And then New York is generally people's big move. So did it feel like big to you? Because it's far, but it's not hugely different.
Right. It has its like it had its moments. It's like coming from a big city like San Francisco to New York. In ways, it felt very natural, just because like you have that city atmosphere. But San Francisco compared to New York, when you like really dig deep into it, it's very different. It's like San Francisco, it's a big metropolitan city, but it still has its essence of like small town feel. A lot of the friends are very, it's like you have like different groups, different cliques. You kind of like, like I like this area over here, I'm just going to stay over here. Whereas like when you come to New York, it's just kind of like, it's everything really.
All mushed together.
Right. And then especially like the lifestyle pace, it's still very slow in San Francisco, whereas out here, it's just like, it's constant though. So the transition for me, I mean, it's like, I've always been attracted to like really big cities, growing up, it's kind of like, like growing up skateboarding, like watching all the videos, it's like San Francisco is kind of like what brought me into that. So by the time I was, able to go on my own, I would always be out there. And then when I started coming to New York that first time, it was kind of like, oh shit, this is where I need to be. Never wanted to leave. So I made it to a point where I would come here at least twice a year. So when I made this jump, when I made the move over, again, it felt quite natural.
Ryan, you still skate? We talked about this briefly in email a little bit ago, but you still skating like today?
I still watch the videos. I still keep up with it, but I don't skate anymore. I can't do it physically. My body can't take it anymore.
I hear you. We had a podcast. It may have just been one with Timothy and I a couple weeks ago, and I was saying how I think I could still do 15 unique tricks on a mini ramp if you give me like a nice little mellow quarter pipe, I think. And so me and one of our coworkers who's a little younger and he still skates, we stopped by a skate park here in Boulder, and man, it's rough, man. It's I mean, I'm 31 and it's been a minute since I skated like regularly, really out there putting in work and going for it. But I still really love it and hold it dear, but I feel the same as you, I'm sure, where it's like, I don't know, man. My ankles are bad. I twisted my right ankle stepping off a curb twice in the last year, like really messed it up. So it's just not.
I get messing around at like the park with my daughter, and I'll like jump off something, you know what I mean? And you kind of hit and you can like,
Whoa.
I used to know like you jump off like a 10 set or something, you hit the heels, you can feel it in your teeth. And I'm doing that off of like just jumping off of like a, like a ledge. And it's like, I can't do this anymore. The bones aren't there.
Yeah, I totally get it. It's like jumping down, maybe like couple feet, you're just like, oh, let me just try to reach as far as it can go down to the ground and lessen the impact.
Yeah.
Is skateboarding like what got you into clothes and stuff? Because I feel like that's an entry point
it's a
for
big
a lot
point
of people.
For me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it really started with footwear. Like I mean, for me, like footwear has always been the passion. You know, especially with like skate shoes. I don't know how it really started. I think it was just like more so like, you know, you get to see, you know, after the shoe starts wearing, you get to see, you know, the different layers and things like that. Especially like back in the day, you know, those huge shoes, like, you know, they're massive. So it's like you have so many different layers, you know, for protection. So I think that kind of started it. And then, you know, just like the whole kind of concept or, you know, idea of skating, really, you know, you're kind of always against the grain. So,
Yeah.
you know, like it was kind of, it just really opened up a lot of different avenues for me.
Do you have any shoes that stick out in your mind that you're like, man, I love skating these?
The Lakai staple, the original one.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
yeah. I don't know
kinda,
if it was the staple, but they did something where they were doing like recycled materials. It was all just random scraps that they then clicked together, and I skated those incredibly hard for a summer, but they were sick. But I like
sick.
skating Lakai, yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy. I remember, I can't remember where this was, but I went down to LA for a family trip, and we went to the outlets, and then I came across this one skate shop, and I don't know if it was a skate shop or maybe like something like a Zoomies or something like that.
Yeah.
And they had a huge current section. It was just stacked of Lakai staples.
Yeah.
And I think they were like $20 each. And I was like, Mom, I need to get 4 pairs of these.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, I had to make, you know, I think we were there for like maybe an hour just trying to like negotiate, you know, it's like, you know, if I get 4 of these, you know, last me a long time, you know, things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
They're heavily discounted. Like, how could you not? I'll have these. They'll last me at least through the summer.
Right. I think I said something like, okay, I can have one to skate, have one to go to school in, you know, so it's like
the business acumen of like a teenager trying to get their parents to buy them something is phenomenal. Like that is the best negotiating tactic work I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, 100%. Definitely.
I used to do a lot of things in a skate shop where I'd get like my dad to take me. I'd tell him I had the money to buy something, but on the side I did not have the money to buy something. I had maybe half at best. And I'd be like, oh shit.
I guess we gotta go home then. Never mind.
Yeah. You came out here, it's like, you know, we gotta get something.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. Do you walk me through the brands that you were loyal to in skating? Because I think that gives us a lot of information.
Oh, that's a tough one because it's like, you know, as you go older, you kind of like see something, you're like, all right, I like that a little bit more. Yeah. But in no particular order, I mean, iPath shoes.
Okay, yeah.
You guys remember that?
Yeah, of course.
It's like the cats, like the wallaby looking shoe.
Yep.
Yeah.
So actually, it's super interesting is that they're coming back.
Oh, cool.
No kidding.
Yeah, they're coming back. I think they might have just released the first set of shoes maybe like last month. Started off with the brown suede cat, which looks like the wallaby, and then he also did the OG pebble grain grasshopper, the mid top with the strap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, should I get a pair? I mean, I'm definitely not going to wear them nowadays. I mean, they slimmed it down, but it's almost very true to the original.
Yeah.
So iPath definitely. Aesthetics.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember them. No.
Yeah. I remember them. This was it was very cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like that was a cool brand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was like kind of like I don't want to necessarily just say hip hop, but it was like, it was kind of like DGK before DGK.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, there were definitely other brands that were a little bit more, you know, a little bit more rugged, more hip hop, more I don't want to say street, but you know, a little bit more street. But aesthetics was really sick to me because it's like a lot of those people, Rob Welsh, you know, San Francisco. Again, it's like I think that was my connection there. It was very West Coast, very San Francisco, and also like very East Coast. Cool. But East Coast being like Philly.
Yeah. So you're talking so we were always into that because of like the Alien Workshop and like Habitat Cruise because they always skated like Love Park and all that stuff. So we thought that was the coolest. Yeah. And then I got older and I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to go there. And I was like, we were in New York. I was like, we'll take a train down, we'll eat around Philadelphia, we'll check out Love Park. That's like iconic and skateboarding. And I went there. I'm like, oh, I love Philadelphia to be honest with you, but it was still cool to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've never been out there during that time, but I heard it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. It was gnarly. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was cool to see. It's a thing you see. But yeah, it was not what exactly as I'd built it. I thought it was going to be so many skateboarders, and they'd basically outlawed it at that point. So there was nobody over there.
They cracked down on it pretty hard at one point, yeah.
So a little bit of a
yeah. I see. Yeah, I mean, those are the two like really big ones. I mean, of course, there's like Girl Chocolate Family.
Yeah.
It's like during that time was like the pinnacle. It's so sick. Like everyone on the team was amazing.
God, like I've said on the pod many times, Lakai fully flared, and like that whole crew of like Mike Moe in particular. I love Mike Moe, and like Sean Malto. I really loved watching their skating a ton. Malto would hard flip anything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's crazy. I was actually watching, I forgot what it's called. I think Final Flare, where they had like 30, 45 minutes of like extra footage that was part of the DVD. Yeah. I found it on YouTube. I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch this.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's rank those. Let's give us a couple of the top videos too. I mean, we could do this all day. We'll stop after this. But like favorite skate videos.
I mean, number one for me, Man Down. Man Down is from Tilt Mode. You guys know about Yeah. It's funny because it's one of those things where it's like if you know, and sometimes you don't, and that's okay. But Tilt Mode, Man Down was the first video I've ever seen. So that's kind of like the number one. And it's still sick. Like I watched it recently because the whole thing's on YouTube. So I watched the whole thing. I was like, oh yeah, this brought back a lot of memories. Yeah. And also like them being in San Jose, I had a cousin that lived down there too. So he was actually friends with one of the guys in Tilt Mode.
Oh, dope.
I never met any of them, but he was like, yeah, like I'd skate with them, things like that. I'm like, cool. So that was kind of like the big intro.
Yeah.
So Tilt Mode, Man Down, Aesthetics, Ride or Die, the first video they did. Soundtrack was amazing, editing, like everything about it. What else?
It's like so much of like people I know. I mean, depending on what you got into, skateboarding is definitely a big one. That like we come sort of from skateboarding mixed with like the hardcore community that seemed to have bred a lot of people very interested into fashion and things like this. But like it's like I think anything that has that sort of like built-in community that it doesn't really end with just skateboarding. It's like the type of shit you ride. Who does this? Who rides this? How do they shoot it? What kind of music? I mean, so much about like
skating to.
People I knew like based their entire identities off like the music that were in a given skate videos. Like that's what we were into because that's like how we would like have the discovery. Because there's no way to like find music, especially like interesting stuff outside of that. So like when certain things came out, that was huge. It was enormous. Like the whole soundtrack would be like all we listened to. Yeah, and how we found new music.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then it's like, before Shazam and all that stuff, it's like I remember just trying to see if I can get like even like a couple words from the lyric, and it's like I'll try to Google. Oh, not Google. What was the big one? Ask Jeeves or
yeah.
Like those search engines back then. I would just try to type it in and see what I could. Just try to find what it was. So yeah, definitely that was like again that was kind of sick though. It's like like that sense of discovery. It's like that was like super cool.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's like one of those things where like we've talked about it a million times on the podcast, but like it was so much more difficult to like find or get things like that, especially that we're in like sort of niche communities, especially when you're somewhere
media resources.
Yeah, like like I said, we're from the Midwest, so like we didn't have like the access to those places. They were just in the ether. Like I knew they existed, but I'd never been. I didn't know anybody who'd gone. And especially when it's like harder to find things, like you get so much more obsessed with everything when you like are you just have like a little like you're saying like words to go off of a song that you're trying to figure out. Yeah. So it makes you want it a lot more. But I also think that like skate shop culture, like it was a big part of like that's how kids like you had to like go in there and it's like it was like going into a record shop where you're pretty fucking intimidated. But the guys were a lot of them, at least good skate shops. The guys were nice and they were helpful and like cool, and it just made this like really like welcoming thing that I still feel like I'm trying to use in what we do now. Where it's like I'm kind of emulating like some of the good shops I used to go to when I was a kid because I thought they were great and they were kind of about the community more than just about selling you stuff. At least the good ones were.
Mm-hmm. Right, definitely. Yeah, and it's I learned, being from that end, as you said earlier, it's like, you try to go in and go buy a new board and you only got like, maybe half of what it costs, and it's like, sometimes the guys at the shop, you'd be like, what do you have? It's like, okay, like, keep $2 for the bus home and then give me what you have. And then, here's the board, it's like they support it in that sense. And it's like, that will always be like, a very big, impactful thing that, especially like growing up and, and it's like, it's about support really. So I try to do that with everyone as well.
That's cool, man. So what is your like official title at EG?
By paper or the cool words, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of both. Yeah, I mean it's the thing too. When people are like, "What do you got? What do you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What do you need me to say? What do you need me to say on it so that I can answer your question?" But yeah,
it's funny because it's like when you go like first time meetings, it's like so like we're gonna go around the table and do introductions. It's like I don't know. It's like those are always like so painful. It's like super awkward.
Yeah.
It's like it's like are we sizing each other up and like who has the better title type of thing. But so I'm the director of wholesale for Engineered Garments.
Got it.
So what that really looks like is that I'll take care of the entire global market outside of Japan. So that's like APAC, North America, EU, UK, things like that. So I'll take care of the wholesale program for EG as well as Workaday, smaller sub-label from EG. Yep. And then I also do, I don't know what the title is. I mean, by paper, director of communications, but that's more focused towards special projects and collaborations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So I mean, that's that's how we know you. Just to make that, for the listeners, like that's how we know each other is from working on the stuff, the collaborations we've worked on with Engineered Garments.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, we work on we also know each other from the wholesale side, but
sure.
On a more like, intimate base is through the project that we worked on in the past.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that's a big job. Both of them fairly big jobs, realistically. Like, do you have obviously special projects has got to be probably more day-to-day fun, I suppose, because you're working on something big. But like, is it a situation where you're sort of pursuing, or like how do you guys sort of work on that? Like, how do you develop like not just the relationships, but how do you decide like this is part of what we're trying to do, or is it just kind of like it comes naturally and organically? How do you kind of approach that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, overall, for both, for both like special projects for EG, meaning like our project that we did together, and as well as like bigger scale, things that we did with like, Reebok and Dr. Martens, it still stems from the kind of very core ethos of EG, where it's like, we want to keep everything very natural. It's like, it is always good to kind of push the boundaries a little bit, but we don't want to lose ourselves with that.
Yeah.
So typically it's kind of a mixture of both. I mean, it's like we'll reach out to, brands that we worked with in the past, or even new brands that we feel like that this is something that we could do. Mm-hmm. And what we really like to do is educate the customer, educate the people that support us. And it's like, we're not gonna, maybe we could work with like the big names, but we like to have, we like to work with the smaller brands. And kind of bring them out to, bring it out to our consumer base. Yeah. But not only that too, is that a lot of these partnerships actually have a history behind it as well, especially with Daiki. He's been doing this for such a long time. And before EG, he was a buyer for Nepenthes and beyond that too. So, he'll have like really deep history with them. Like, oh, back in the 80s, I used to carry them. I used to import them from US to Japan. So there's always that connection. Yeah. And that's something that we value more rather than, working with a big name.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think that, I'm sure as collaborations have gotten more and more saturated to the point that like Skittles is with Fendi and like, shit where you're like, what the hell? It's Engineered Garments has always sort of felt like it's had collaborations that both surprise and make sense at the exact same time. You know what I mean? And I think that like that's sort of like the dream to me is where it's like, oh, that feels interesting, like an interesting take, or like they're going to put their personal touch on something, interesting, or it's just like it just feels so organic, like, oh, of course, that's the shoe you'd already wear with Engineered Garments stuff or whatever. And it just feels like you guys have really found a nice balance between making cool, interesting things, but also keeping it like organic or like, natural, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Right. Actually, it's funny because someone brought this up the other day. It's our project with Palace. It's like, that's something that's a little bit, unexpected. But when you understand, it's like, oh, it makes all the sense. And what I meant by that is the connection with EG and Palace is that Daiki had a history in skateboarding too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like it makes sense in in that way.
It's funny. I actually don't know. I know he's talked to me about like surfing quite a bit before, but I didn't know he was into skateboarding too. But that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, he skated for a while, like like in the younger years, and then same thing. It's like, oh, like the joints can't take it, so
Yeah.
off to the water and on the
A little
surfboard.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Very,
exactly.
very cool. Do you have
hmm
like what do you think now? Like these days, what how do you define a good collaboration? Like when you see two other brands, like let's take yourself out of it, take EG out of it for a minute. Like what do you think? Like when you see two brands, what makes it good? Like what makes it make sense?
hmm Oh, that's interesting. I mean, for what I really enjoyed when I started to like really follow all this stuff was essentially like getting their perspective and just kind of learning about that basically. So
Yeah.
it's like what I mean by that, it's like I remember back in the day we would have like Undefeated and Neighborhood, like Neighborhood being a Japanese brand, like we didn't have any of that stuff in San Francisco until I found a few shops, but still it's like you don't really have that kind of presence out here in the US. So
Mm-hmm.
that introduction into their world
Mm.
was what I really valued.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. It's like it's such a unique thing that's like it's like a new problem to retail almost like the collaborations of things because I think it's so important and it's so exciting. You know what I mean? Obviously, I think that's what a lot of it can really come down to is that it's just exciting to see two brands that you love or respect working together. But it can be tough to get it right because you do see stuff where you're like, I don't know what the goal of this was, and then there's other times where I'm like, God, that's locked, dude. Like that is just exactly what you'd want. Is there like how is every single this is a different question but is every single person that you work like different brand that you guys work with like is it like a unique like style of how they work with you every single time?
Like what do you mean? Just kind of like how everything is put
Yeah,
together,
like
or?
how ideas come together.
Yeah.
hmm I mean, the easiest way, it's like, okay, here's a shoe, here's a jacket, put your design into it.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily what we like to do. It's like we like to again kind of push each other's boundaries as well.
Yeah.
It's like what we look for, it's like, we I don't know how should I put this, but it's like we'll take a shoe, for example, and it's like, we don't really see that out there. Let's
Mm-hmm.
put these two together.
Yeah.
And, it's like, and a lot of the projects that we work with are not necessarily designed to sell out first day.
Yeah.
They're meant to be, valued and treasured and, just really appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that Engineered Garments has like always done well is like create these like it's something but it's 30 degrees different and it becomes like a new staple. Like I remember when, way back when I worked for a different store and I first started carrying EG, this was very early into that collection, like maybe only like the second or third that were really out there much. And at least on the wholesale side, that is. And people did not understand how those fucking shirts fit. I would be so much talking to them like, well, it's supposed to do this and it's like based on this, but it's a little different. And like, it was hard to get people on board. Now, luckily Engineered Garments has always had this amazing cult community that comes out of the woodwork. You know what I mean? But at the same time, this was still relatively new and it was tough to get people to understand. But like now I feel like most people I know have had an Engineered Garments work shirt in their closet at some point. You know what I mean? So I really feel like it's a brand that has always had that right direction of like, this is a long-term play. None of these are quick trend things. This is like, I'm pushing something long-term.
Definitely. And it's like, speaking with my wholesale customers, there's always, they're like, can I give some input, things like that. And, of course we're here to listen. And it's like, can you guys change the fit? I'm like, that's not necessarily how it works. It's like, it's like, we do value what everyone says, but it's like, it's like, that's the collection. That's how it's designed. That's the intention. And, there's definitely ways to work around it. Maybe you can size down and things like that, but it doesn't always work that way. It's like the intention is to be designed, it's designed to be big, for example. It's like,
Yeah.
that's how it's supposed to be worn.
Yeah, I completely love that. For the record, my first EG piece was the chambray work shirt. I think the first season that I started working here, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. I found my thing. I know where I belong. I'm gonna get this every season. You know what I mean? Timothy and I don't work in the store as much, like the actual brick and mortar, so we don't get to have these interactions in person as much, but we still do with our online community and I'll just be like, listen, go with your standard EG size. This is how it's supposed to fit. We want it big. We want the gusset to come up and then have the front and back of the work shirt poke out from underneath the jacket. We want to have those proportions play. So like you could size down and it would fit you like a normal button-up shirt, but like I would urge you not to. I would urge you to have it be big and just like own it. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Definitely.
I wonder if you
I
have
know.
any perspective. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's just like something like that. It's like, you can always, like I said, you can always work around it, and you can make it work like a regular shirt, for example. But it's like, you just kind of lose everything about it. It's like at that point, just grab another brand or something like that. But yeah.
I wonder if you'll have you'll know the answer to this. I'm assuming you would, but if you don't, that's fine too. But obviously, in most cases with brands that I've worked with for a very long time, if you have any given item that's like a classic in their collection, it is the same, and the treatment changes on it. That is never, at least from what I've seen, not been the case with engineered garments. It feels like the fits and sizes and everything does change season to season. Like, do you have like any perspective on like what is the like sort of reasoning behind that? This can be like, I've heard frustration from customers. I've known a guy who, no joke, you probably know him if I'm not going to dox him here, but only wears EG since 2005 maybe, like nothing else, no other brands, and he's never taken a different size ever. You know what I mean? Like he only buys this one size, and I sold him 90% of it. Yeah. But like, is that true, or is it just a perception thing, or do you have any thoughts or ideas behind that?
Yeah, I mean, it does change from season to season. We'll have our core, styles. Mm-hmm. Like we do have the core fabrics as well, but sure. At the end of the day, the fit does change, and it's again, it kind of it goes with the story, with the concept of the collection, and we're very big on telling that story too. So it's like we want to make it very cohesive all the way through the collection. So it does change. Like everything. It's like we have our very core classic styles, and it's like it changes with with the style.
Yeah, and it's meant to basically, the silhouette is in evolving thing basically then, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we've always told, it's just funny because sometimes, as a retailer, you're like, that's what we've always told people. We're like, yeah, the designer made changes because there needed to be changes. And, it might, I think sometimes it can be like frustrating to a customer in one way because you're like, oh, I thought I had my size and I don't have my size. But we've always done the same thing as like, just figure out what your size is and stick with it. I don't think you should do anything different. That it should be as the designer intended it. Like, especially if you're buying from the collection, it's all meant to go together, so it's an interesting thing, but it's weird. I don't know if you'll have any thoughts here, but I've worked with a lot of brands throughout the years. Several different ones through multiple different like iterations of my career. I've always carried engineered garments, always worked with engineered garments. There's been no break since I got out of college and started working in this field. It is the most culty brand I've ever worked with. I don't care what anyone says, and maybe it goes a little like this, but I've never met someone who actually, like, the guys that get into engineered garments never fully leave it. Even if they do evolve in some other direction or something like that. It's always peppered in. It's always in there. Like, nobody can seem to get away from it. I have like my own thoughts on why it is like it works so well in that department, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, even removing myself from the brand and putting myself in a consumer perspective, because that was the same thing. Like my first DG piece is, I bought that, I don't know, 2010, something like that. It was like I wish I still have it. I still am looking for it. Yeah. But it was the original version of the over parka. Oh yeah, and it's like kind of like knee length parka, pullover style with the center back zipper all the way to the top. So. That first original one was the one. But yeah, it was like, to go off like what you just mentioned, it's like same thing. Like I was always in it. or I had that piece, fell in love with it, started to really dive into the brand, kind of stepped away, started going towards like a different direction, and then I came back, and
Yeah.
it's like speaking with our customers, it's like they say the same thing. So what that is, I don't know what fuels it. I think maybe it's what we're talking about with the collection. It's like nothing's always the same. I think
Yeah,
if you have that same fit, even if it's the same style, same fit, it just kind of gets repetitive, and there's no excitement. I mean,
yeah.
a lot of the things. Go ahead, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Like a lot of what we encourage in the showroom, it's like try it on. Even at the store, like even at the Nepenthe store, it's like there's always that encouragement, try it on. Because on the rack, you don't know how you don't know how it fits on you, how it looks, and most of the time it's like we put it on, like, yeah, this is it. So
Yeah, it's
I
like,
think maybe that's what it is.
yeah, exactly. It's familiarity with variation. So it's like you know what you're coming back to. You're gonna get green fatigues and ripstop. You're gonna get the chambray work shirt, and you can start there with the staples, and then there's loiters, Bedfords, all like inner liners, like the more niche things. And even if you step away for a couple years, you can come back and be like, oh, I see what they're doing. It's changed. It's current. So maybe the fits are fuller, or 5-6 years ago maybe slimmer, etc. But it's something familiar that you already are. You don't have to do any mental gymnastics. You know what I mean? You're like, I know, I can jump right back in. It's like a familiar book you were reading or something.
And it feels fresh
Right.
at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like what you're
with
saying.
variation. Yeah.
Yeah, because it just keeps evolving and changing, but it doesn't. I still know that there's going to be a Bedford, and I know what that looks like, and I know how it feels to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's always still, like you're saying, it's always still accomplishing the same thing, just, assuming a slightly different personality,
Yeah,
which is nice.
yeah.
It keeps it fresh.
Right, exactly. And it's like super cool. It's like you have you can get something from the new collection, and you have something maybe from 5-6 years ago, and it's still very it still works.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite pieces to this day still. It's probably what people ask me most about when they see me wearing it. Is I think spring summer 19 or perhaps spring summer 18, a black watch Atlantic parka. It's like super light but like roomy in the best way, and like it's kind of year round because it's not terribly heavy, terribly light, but that works with literally any other EG piece I have from either prior or after. And that is, yeah, it's beautiful. Pick up a couple pieces here and there, and after a couple of years, you've got a full arsenal that you can come back to every time, and then work in some other things in between.
Right, exactly.
It's an interesting brand in that, like, I think that it's so, at least as I've seen it, I've seen so many. Well, it was the brand that kind of came in during the Made in US trend, because it was doing that, and that was like a big deal. There weren't that many brands doing that. So there was certainly no emphasis on it at the beginning of that trend, and then it grew. But engineered garments was like, it was doing Made in US, but it didn't look like anything else Made in US that existed. So all these guys that were getting into that trend and felt comfortable inside of that trend because of whatever masculinity things they had folded into it. You know what I mean? And then EG just kept doing these things where it's like a work shirt, but it's like, it's going to fit different than anything else you've had, or it's going to be fatigues, but they don't fit or look like vintage or something like that. And it would always just change things by just enough to like, it just kept it like forced people, like especially guys, in my opinion, because that's just of when it like really started hitting. It like forced them to get into fashion 1 degree more than maybe they were ready to be comfortable with. And it just kept evolving. And I think it is the best. It's like weed, man. It's like the best gateway drug you can possibly give to someone that you're trying to get into this stuff, because you're like, you're going to understand it. It's not wild expensive for this world, but maybe for your first time or whatever, but not for this world, because it goes bananas in one direction.
Yeah.
And it like allows them to evolve inside something they feel comfortable in such a unique way that I don't think any other brand touches, in all honesty. Like, I just don't know any other brand that's able to do that, that's able to allow for that to happen inside of it. Like it kind of inspires creativity inside of the brand as well, because like, like the styling and things that you guys put out is very unique, I would say. And it has a very specific point of view, but it also looks to me, when I look at the lookbooks, I'm like, this is not light years away from the first lookbooks I was seeing either. Like, it is and it isn't at the same time. And living in that world must be complicated, At least to me, it would be complicated to like keep that up for as long as that brand has. I mean, that there's. It's not trying to be I'm not congratulatory. It's literally just like I don't know many brands that have stayed relevant for as long as Engineered Garments has without fading in and fading out. They've just sort of always been there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like from the inside, at the end of the day, it's like we're just having fun.
Yeah.
Especially with the styling. It's like let's see how funky, how weird can we get, and it's like that's such an enjoyable moment. It's like. And even just like, during the showroom, it's like like a customer will just, be like, how do you wear this? And, we'll explain it and they're just like, it's just like, the light bulb clicks on.
Yeah.
It's like, typically speaking, like, like you have a vest, you would think it would go under a coat. But for us, like, that's going outside.
Yeah, hell yeah. The over vest. For my first birthday, I was working at the shop. Timbo gifted me, olive corduroy and chestnut faux fur overvest that I still rock to this day.
We liked it because it's one of those pieces where it's like you know how to wear it, but it's gonna force you a little bit outside your comfort zone in a fun way. That, I just think no other brand can really do. Man, it's really awesome to see. Do you have like one piece that's like has been more divisive than any other piece, like on the wholesale side of like what's the thing you've gotten the most like questions about, good or bad?
Oh. I don't know. There's so many, honestly. It's like we can talk about every single category, but I would probably say the shirting. The shirting has always been that one. Yeah, because I think that's just like the easier. I don't want to say go to, but that's kind of like the core. It's like a good fitting shirt. It's a good fitting shirt. So that's always kind of like the big question. It's like, do you guys change the shirt? It's like, what's new?
Yeah. Are they long? Are they long like last season, or are they? How's it fitting this year?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
that's probably the one.
It's got to be a lot. And I mean, because like you said, especially like what people maybe that are customers of ours don't understand on the buying side is when you go see a collection, especially a collection like Engineered Garments that's large. I mean, it's very big. It's broken up into kind of sections to a certain degree, but it's like it's a lot to go through, and I think that's what makes it so unique. Because I mean, a lot of stores carry Engineered Garments, and I feel like everybody does it kind of differently, and it has some different approach. And I think that's also a way to congratulate the brand is like that's not easy to do, to make a collection that's big enough and you're able to, not everyone's just buying from one corner, you know what I mean? Because I've worked on the wholesale side of things, and sometimes you're like, yeah, everyone's just they like this stuff. I know we worked on this shit, but they're just doing this. You know what I mean? But Engineering Garments, it just seems like any place you go, it's like, oh, I see what you did. I know how you put it. I mean, that's my inside stuff, but it is cool to see how broad it's gotten with still feeling like everyone could buy from this. You know what I mean? Is that intentional as far as like how you guys like how do you approach that wholesale thing to keep everybody fresh?
Oh, I mean, honestly, it starts off from the design side. It's like, it's just more so like, let's just make it all. It's like we have, for example, like on our customer side, we have customers that focus mainly on suiting. We have customers that really do everything else as well. So as you mentioned, because the collection is so large, you can tell so many different stories within one collection.
Yeah.
So that's like a super interesting thing, and it's like it's a very unique perspective for every single store, and it's we don't want to necessarily isolate that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like I said, it's a tough thing to do because wholesale's unique. I think you'll understand. You don't want to sell as much as you'd sell directly to a customer because they have to have their own point of view. So you can't force a point of view on a store, someone buying for a store. But at the same time, you have like an idea of like, oh, this works better than others. But it's such a weird thing to do to sell on the wholesale side because it's so much different than selling direct. Yeah. It's so unique. Do you find that it's like difficult for you, or is it like? I mean, you guys, Engineering Garments is like as a brand has always been so laid back and like mellow. And when I used to work with like Angelo back in the day, it was a lot of like you're saying would be like. You'd ask him a question and there would be kind of a non-direct answer, and it was completely purposeful. It was like, I'm not going to tell you how you're supposed to wear it. You know what I mean? What do you think? And he'd be like, fuck, it's like philosophical questions suddenly. You know what I mean? So it's always been like chill and easy. But is that difficult to continue like like when a brand asks for help, how do you give them help without them losing their point of view?
Oh, that's a tricky one too. I mean, a lot of the times it's like, like what's the best style? Like, what's popular? And I won't tell them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because, like multiple times it's like, it changes, because we'll have some people come in and be like, oh yeah, this is super cool. And then the next day, this one's super cool. So it always changes. But at the end of the day, like I want you to find what is cool to you. What's
Yeah.
the popular style for you?
Yeah, like how will your own personal community, react to it? Like we're giving you a lot of love today, bro, but we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Our community is they joke, like the inside joke of Canoe Club is we're all green pants people. It all started with EG. Off of that, are you like, do you wear mostly all EG? Is it like, or is that like kind of like wearing the band shirt to the show kind of thing? How do you go about that? Because here I only dress in stuff that Canoe Club carries. I would say if I have 50 things in my closet, which I probably don't, but 48 of them are from Canoe Club, and that's it. But if you worked for a brand like you working for EG, I could see it being pretty easy to be like, nah, fuck it, I only wear EG. I'm not going to do anything else.
hmm No, I mean it's like I mix it up. At least like on any given time, there's at least one piece of EG that I'm
Yeah.
wearing, either shirt, t-shirt, pants, things like that, coat. But I'll mix it in with other brands as well.
Nice. Nice.
hmm
Are you a green pants guy?
No, I'm kind of more navy. I
Oh,
don't know.
interesting.
I have
That's the other
I have these
color.
moments. I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
these moments. Sometimes it'll be like olive. I mean, especially with EG, there's different types of, different
Oh,
colors
yeah.
or
Yeah.
different shades of olive,
Yeah.
dark olive, light olive, standard olive,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like
I
that.
mean,
So it's
but
like, yeah, I'll have a olive moment. And then I think right now I'm in a navy moment.
yeah, yeah.
hmm
Yeah, I have the 6.5 ounce twill ones from a couple years ago in navy that are stellar, but I've also got the regular green ripstop, the dead stock ripstop. There's some green pants coming to the shop later this fall that I will also be, eager to snag. But yeah, our community in particular, I don't remember how it started, but it's a green pants community, and we owe a lot of that love to EG.
hmm Yeah, it's like it's interesting. It's like sometimes I'll see it out in the street, and it's awesome to see it like that. But
Yeah,
it's always an olive pant though,
yeah, yeah.
for sure.
It's the best. It's the best bottom.
Well, like I said,
hmm
with that the culty element of
Yeah.
EG, it's like I automatically feel like if I see another guy that has engineered garments on, I can dap that dude up and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're good.
Do you want to come
and I
over
are
and have
good."
dinner at
Yeah.
my house? Because
Yeah.
I'll cook for you,
Yeah,
bro.
I
Come
trust
on
you.
over.
Yeah. What's been like a project that you've personally worked on that has felt like kind of perfect? Like, I mean, for you, like this is a complete for you kind of thing of like something you were most excited to work on.
Probably my first collaboration, which was with Vans.
Cool.
Dope.
That I again, my history with skating, it's like,
Yeah.
I've always worn Vans forever, and still to today, my favorite shoe, the Authentic or even Slip-On. Those are like the two like my go-tos. So working with Vans was super sick. It was like they're very easy to work with, and yeah, it was just the best. I mean, every project's great. Every project's great, but that definitely was like the most impactful one.
No, I could see that growing up into
hmm
skateboarding and like Timbo, you got Birkenstocks on today.
That's
and
only
this is a rare
Birkenstock
day
and
where
Vans,
here
though,
I
yeah.
are also
Yeah.
not wearing Vans. It's slip-ons or Authentics as well. Yeah, it's probably sick.
I mean, it's funny though because it's like truly the whole reason I ever wore Birkenstocks in the first place is because I've never even seen that shoe before in my life, and I saw Daiki wearing it. Like this would have been to the early 2000s or so, and I was like, "Fuck, that's that," and then that's what I'm gonna wear.
Yeah.
and then I want to figure out what that shoe was. Got clowned on for 2 years, then it got
Yeah.
popular, and then
Yeah,
it was all right.
yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, and you know what? I actually think the first collaboration anything I bought, except for maybe something from Colette eons ago, because they're kind of like kings of collaboration, was the EG Vans. And I remember I had to ask back then because there was no online, no nothing. I had to ask a friend to go like wait in line and get them for me, and then send them to me in Chicago because that was the
Sick.
only way to do it. And I kind of miss it being the only way you do it.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
great.
I know. Yeah. It's like it's one of those things where it's great because you can order. It takes a couple minutes, but you kind of lose that sense. It's like you lose that kind of value,
Oh, totally.
exclusivity.
Totally. And I mean, I've been at the shop. I was the first paying customer of Canoe Club in March 2017, and I joined the team 2-3 months after. And at that point, you still had to call to order EG over the phone. And I remember when it switched over, it was like you said, yes, it's much easier. People can just log on and do it, put the inventory in, product photography, etc. But there was something really awesome about having to talk to somebody on the phone and to be like, oh, word, actually, here, let me just try it on for you real quick. Or I think this XYZ. It was a really cool thing to have to jump through a hoop. It probably is one of the things that helped it become so culty. Was like, no, listen, it's not as easy as just going on and clicking the button. You kind of got to really work for it. You got to seek it out and put in the effort.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just like the human to human interaction just makes it so much better. It's like, that's how I made my connections in skate shops and retail stores. It's like, I used to live across the street of Huff in San Francisco. So, just stepping out, like, see them outside and say what's up. It's like, you kind of build that friendship off of that. So like, I kind of miss that in a way. And, it's like, it's not to say it's not there anymore, but, it's like that essence is kind of gone, especially with like, e-commerce just going everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was one of those things that's like, I remember back when they would enforce it and I would hear people in the showroom, this would have been a long time ago, would be complaining about it, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time, I remember the guys, a guy I worked with at the time was like, should I talk to them about it too? And I'll bring up that it's frustration. And I was like, fuck no. And I was like, I love it. I can outsell fucking Barney, anybody else they sell to, because I love it. And I got the guys and they'll call me direct or they'll text me. I mean, I used to have an entire like section on my phone of just, that was text about engineered garments that I had to deal with like later. And like, it was just the only way to get it. And it was like, man, it was like being the only guy with the drugs in town. You know what I mean? And it was like, and it was great because you knew all those guys so intimately. And it was just so, it was really cool. I mean, and not to say that look, brands have to get bigger. They have to evolve. It's been no problem. And luckily, engineered garments, like I said, is so culty that we've found the communities and the communities sort of find you and been able to build on it from there. And it's just an entirely new thing. But man, that was such a like smart thing to do, to allow small stores a way to compete with big stores and sell to them both at the same time. It was brilliant. I mean, I think it was one of the smartest moves I've seen a business do in a long time, where it just truly felt like the engineered garments has always been like pro even playing field, which is not the case of every brand in this business. So it's super cool.
Right. And, it's one of those things where it boils down to a lot of the things we do, from the designing side and how we operate as well, where it's like, we want to be accessible to everyone, but without having to really dilute ourselves. And, it's just like, we really like the contrast, it's like, we'd love to be in, all the different types of stores.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, really broaden that open.
It's what makes somebody so much more interesting, is if it can live in a million different worlds, that's only going to like widen the audience. And I think that it's such a unique product that the right people are drawn to it. You know what I mean? Anyway, so you can put it everywhere and it's going to hit for some and hit better for others or whatever it is. But at the same time, like the right people will figure it out, I think. And that's been so cool to see it. Like, I think any brand that's taken this position of like playing the long game, those are the ones I want to fuck with, because it's like that's the ones that end up sticking around, or like engineered garments, like I said earlier, like stay relevant for so much longer. So it's been such a cool evolution to see. How what are you excited about with the brand going forward? Not to give away anything going on, but like what's been exciting as it's evolved since you've been on board?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. There's so many.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know if I should really say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Next month, or actually no, we're August. At the end of this month, we're actually opening a new store in the West Coast.
Ooh, oh, cool!
Yeah, we're opening a Nepenthe store in the West Coast. I'll leave it like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll leave it at that. It'll be at the end of the month, so there's definitely a lot of excitement with that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be...
It's been so New York for so long.
Yeah.
So it's, right.
And, I think it's time, or we think it's time to, open that up a little bit more. So,
I mean,
that's like one of the biggest ones.
like even just the retail footprint growing, and even just in New York, I mean, it going from the store that like that party used to be impossible to get into physically, and you had to know somebody, you know what I mean? Because it would be so many people in that tight little space drinking Stellas. but yeah, I mean, it's been so cool to see that like grow as well. Has that been big for you guys? Has that been cool to see? Just inside of New York, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, yeah, I totally remember. I remember trying to go into those parties at the small, at the original location, and it was impossible for those same reasons. And to grow into what it is now, so basically what happened was that there was a vacant space next door. We were able to acquire that, and we just knocked down the wall, and we literally doubled the space. Yeah. So it's been good. It's been very good, because it's like it really allows us to have fun in the space. We'll do bi-monthly pop-ups with local artists. We do have a gallery space on the top of the kind of like, because the ceilings are massive, maybe like 20-30 feet or something like that, but maybe not 30 feet, but they're quite high. So we can use the space on the top, and then we add local artists or artists from from Japan or wherever, really. So we'll showcase their work. And then also brands will do like special projects with like local brands or friends and family, things like that, and we'll provide a space and platform for them as well. So it's been nice in that sense.
Yeah, the dedication to like not only New York but like the local community of people beyond just fashion is always. I mean, I remember what it was called, Hell's Kitchen Music Society or whatever it was. So I did stuff with that back in the day. Like all of that was just always been so cool to like really like bring in not just brands like what you're doing, but like also like bring in artists and bring in different things, like ways to just keep engaging with, like, it feels so much more like a art collective than it does just one thing. And like it's just, that ever evolving stuff is so cool to see, man. I'm glad you guys are still doing so much of that.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, we could just sell clothing and that's it, but we want to continue telling that story, and not just our story, but other people's story as well. Like that's why we really try to work with a lot of people in that sense, and a very wide perspective as well, not just apparel or art. It could be like music, ceramics. The list really goes on.
Yeah. Hey, so Ryan, if you don't want to do this, we can cut this out. But we had mentioned briefly about maybe you have some samples and stuff you wanted to pull up on camera.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where should I start?
You tell me.
Yeah,
you tell me.
Yeah, what do you got?
Let's see. Maybe I'll start off with the first project.
Yes,
that'd be great.
With Vans. So here, I don't know. It might be kind of. You know what? Let me turn on the light real quick.
Dope. Yeah, I know the ones already.
I don't know if that really did anything.
Well,
sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Is that better now?
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah.
All right. So the first project that I worked on with EG, the Vans project. Here we have the era. We added this elastic gore so you can wear it.
Yes.
As a slip-on. You still have the eyelets, so you have like that, kind of like the intention to wear with laces, but it's kind of funny because when stores started to really receive these, they all lace them up. And we intentionally designed them to be worn without laces. So, kind of like fun little thing as well.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And then this particular I'm holding a black pair now, and this one was exclusive to Nepenthe stores. I think we only made like 90 pairs of these.
Oh, wow.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so we did 3 colors, white, all white, black upper with a white sole, and then kind of like a khaki with a white sole as well. That saw the wider release, and then the triple black was only for us.
Sick.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Unreleased white pair slip-on.
Oh, wow. Dope. Unreleased.
Yeah,
never went into production.
No, this is just a sample. This one never went. I mean, I worn this. It might be a little dirty, but yeah, we haven't. These actually got canceled. I can't remember why. So, this was like the first development pair.
Yeah.
And then gum sole. Usually triple white. We'll do like the white sole all the way around. Like that one had a gum sole. So
love the gum. Love that it doesn't have the stripe around the edges.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Next one. I'll save the best one for last.
Okay.
This one's super cool. A lot of people don't really know this as well. Daiki, designer, had a history in cycling.
No, I feel like we know a lot of Daiki lore. We're always very fascinated with Daiki, but no, I didn't know he was into cycling too.
Yeah, he was in cycling. It's funny because I don't live too far from the office, so sometimes I'll take my bike in, and I rode my bike in one day, and he kind of like freaked out. He's like, "What? I had no clue you were into cycling," things like that, and that really opened up the gates. So like we'd always talk about it.
Yeah.
So it kind of led me into the next project we did with Reebok. So I have this vintage pair of CDs. It's a Italian cycling shoe company. I mean, they also do motorcycle shoes.
Yeah.
But they're pretty big in the like I think like late 90s or 2000s. But here's like a vintage pair of mountain bike shoes, and it's like multicolored, super retro, like highlighter yellow, orange, blue, purple.
Yeah.
So this was the inspiration for this shoe here.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So we did a Reebok. So we worked with Reebok. This is the BB4000, kind of like their lifestyle shoe.
Yeah.
So we took that same kind of color scheme and tried to do this. So unfortunately, this one didn't make it.
Man,
so we did
that's cool though.
Two versions. We did a full pant leather, and we did the leather, just kind of like flat leather as well. So it's like thermal grain leather. So we got the two different versions here. I don't know, it might be hard to see.
No, that's so sick.
What
that's
good
so
inspo too, man. That's so sick.
Yeah. So we take we take inspiration from all over the place. Again, it's like there was that story that or there's that connection that he had.
Yeah.
And a lot of it came from this. So yeah, this was super cool. Dope. I wish this one went into production.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are gnarly. Those are so good.
I mean, I'm lucky, I wear sample size, so it's like, this is actually like a full pair. So maybe I'll wear them. We'll see.
Yeah. If you do, I want to see the kit, so email it over, please.
Definitely. And then same shoe, same style. We did patent leather versions as well.
Yeah, dude.
So we did triple black, triple white patent leather. So what we did do, or what did come out, was maybe late last year we did that silver and gold pack.
Mm-hmm.
This was supposed to accompany it, and unfortunately didn't make it.
Yeah.
So triple white and triple black.
I love the triple black. That's
the black those are really good.
Yeah, these are super awesome.
Hell yeah. It's like the all black Air Force, like you're gonna go do some dirt,
The next shoe was with Keens. This one in particular didn't make it in the US. This was only a Japan exclusive. But we worked on the Jasper.
Oh, dope.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So this is the Jasper. What we did was we made this like integrated sock liner here.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to the Vans, you can wear them without laces.
Yeah.
Man, those are good.
Sick.
Love the color too.
Yeah, I like that silhouette too. It's like a skate shoe and climbing shoe together. Hiking
right,
shoe,
exactly.
Maybe,
This particular one, we did like the asymmetrical material play. So the outside will be like a rough suede, whereas the inside will be kind of like a smoother, lower profile suede.
Yeah.
This one we added D-rings to it, metal D-rings.
Yep.
But since it's a slip-on, no laces, it's quite noisy.
Yeah.
So we took it off. So main production is going to be your standard eyelets.
Nice.
Yeah. So this one was sick. This one's really cool.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's funny because like I was out in Tokyo around the time they came out, and it just skipped my mind. I didn't pick those up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish. And we did 3 colors. We did a navy, black, and brown, and I'm like, damn, I should have just got all 3.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got 2 more.
Okay, cool.
Actually, this project was super fun. We worked with K-Swiss, and we had the opportunity to work on the revamp of the classic tennis shoe.
Yeah.
So we had the opportunity to work with them, and we did two separate pairs. We did one with the classic, I think it was the classic GT, which is the one that saw like the wider wholesale approach. And then we also worked on, I think it's the classic 88, which is based off like the 88 last. So
Yeah.
slightly, it's like, it looks, from afar, it looks exactly the same, but when you look it up, like when you do side-by-side comparison, very different.
Interesting.
So here I have the sample of which one was this? I think this is the GT. So this is the brown version here. So kind of similar to the Keen shoe, kind of like asymmetrical.
Yep.
You got the hairy suede on the outside, smooth leather on the inside. And then
I love how like flat that silhouette is too.
If you look, so a lot of the ideas, it's like typically you'll see like it'll be like asymmetrical on the outside, so leather, suede and suede, but we do the opposite. So basically, if you look at it from this side, you have a suede shoe.
Exactly. Or
and then when you
from
look on this side,
damn,
right, exactly. So you have a leather shoe. So you have that two different perspectives, and then it's kind of a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, two different sole colors.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, that's so sick.
So
and then
again,
this is so good.
What's the lace system like? Is it
Yeah, so we did the kind of like the bungee cord.
Yeah.
This was like a really thin one that we weren't super excited about. I'll get into the final production pair.
Yeah.
And this one, it didn't have like any padding on the tongue, so it was just like super flimsy.
Yeah.
So we weren't really into that. I mean, it's cool in a sense, but it's just like as a commercial perspective, it just didn't really make sense.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we had like a little. It might be hard to see on your guys' end, but we have a EG logo embossed on the side, on the heel. Yeah. So that was the first development pair. And then here's the sample. I mean, sorry, here's the final production.
Oh my God.
It's a little bit beefier.
So cool, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A little bit beefier. This one in particular is the 88. So this is the Friends and Family version. This one was made in Japan. K-Swiss had a small factory in Japan, and because of Daiki's history with K-Swiss, he used to import these.
Yeah.
A while back. So we're just like, we have to make this.
Yeah. Really sick.
Yeah.
Those
so it was like
cool.
Kind of like a tribute to him and his connection with K-Swiss. So this is the Friends and Family version with the 88 style model. So slightly more kind of like rounded, actually kind of more pointed toe.
Yeah.
Whereas like the newer version has like a little bit more rounded.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Slightly different, but you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we changed the logo to be a little bit more hidden. So now it's like tucked away in.
Oh yeah.
Like vertical with it. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Right, exactly.
Dope.
Wow, those are so cool.
Beefier toggle. It's like, this is super comfortable. I love this shoe.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember middle school, high school, this was the shoe. You had the white pair, fat laces, and then you have like the extra, you stuff your tongue with like another pair of socks.
Yeah.
It's funny, as you're showing them, I'm like, I've had that shoe before back in middle school or high school, and it was great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, it's super crazy. It's like, we didn't really intend for it to be like, sell out within the first hour. And it's like the people that really enjoyed it had that same connection. Yeah. It's like, I had that shoe when I was trying to be a break dancer in high school and, things like that. So it's like, that's what we really like to do.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
And then the last one, again, I'm lucky to be sample size. So I have a lot of, I'm lucky, like I'm very fortunate to keep the samples as well as the product. Like I'll buy the production pairs. So it's I love to see, like I've always wanted to be a footwear designer. So all the footwear projects really, really
speak to you.
Right, exactly. So it's like having that transition, you see like, from the very beginning stages all the way to the final production. It's like, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Our first project with Paraboot, we worked on the Michael.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I think we did 3 different colors, like triple black, dark brown, and a light brown. This was the color I wish that came out.
Yeah.
So this was the first development pair. So it's just kind of like chestnut,
Yeah.
chestnut, like kind of nubuck, but it almost feels like it's such a wild texture. Where it's just like
Whoa.
chestnut, like upper, and then like the dark brown leather.
I love the piping, and I love that lace choice too.
Yeah.
Damn.
So this actually the lacing system was actually super difficult to do. It's
What makes
mainly
it
the
difficult?
placement.
Yeah.
Yeah, the D-ring placement.
Just due to manufacturing capabilities, you know what I mean? Like getting the machine in there to push it, or what?
No, it was just more so like how do we position the lacing or like the D-rings to where it holds the shoe without being painful. You know,
Sure,
it's like
sure. Yeah.
this particular one, it's like I was wearing this in the office and just to see like how it feels. And it was like it was super tight in like the very top, so it would hurt the top of my foot. So I think we went. This is probably the most sample rounds we've done in a shoe since I've started. I think we went through like 4 or 5 different sample rounds.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
To get this right. Yeah. So what we did was just like, sometimes we'll get the bottom 2 done well, and then the top one is always a tricky one. Like, do we go forward? Do we go down? Because it's like the original Michael that Paraboot does, they only have 2 standard eyelets here in the front.
Yeah, exactly.
So adding another one was like the difficult one.
And why add the other one? Was it just to get like a more interesting sort of like pattern on the lacing and everything?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Super cool, man. I mean, the detail stuff like that ends up making a difference as much of a pain in the ass as it is, because it just sits so much. It feels like so fresh compared to the original one. That feels like it could be from a totally different brand.
Right, exactly. And it's like, it's, we like that, it's very true to EG, like a lot of their approach. It's like, the details are kind of hidden. If you look for it, you're like, that's kind of like where it like really kicks in. You know, and it's like, we do a lot of the things kind of, first, I guess like just first approach, it's like, oh, just another shoe, another jacket. But once you start diving into it, why is this there? Why is it positioned in this way?
Yeah.
It's like once you start to like understand and learn about it, it really, again, it really makes like a big impact.
Yeah.
100%. Man, this has been very enjoyable. I don't want to take up too much of your time. This has been huge for us. I'm so glad you came on and were able to show us all that stuff and talk through this. We have a lot of, ourselves included, but a lot of customers that are like massive, deep fans of engineered garments. So I'm really excited.
It's as much DNA of Canoe Club,
as anything else.
Yeah, truly so sick to have you on, dude.
So thank you for coming on, man, and showing us all this stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it. As you said, we can sit here for another 2-3 hours and talking. So it's like, because there's so much. There's really so much.
Absolutely, man.
We got to get you out here or something.
Yeah.
We got to figure out some sort of, I don't know, release parties, some sort of situation where we can get together.
You guys out here.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, plus if you guys like biking and shit, I mean, this is the place to do it.
Hey, we got bikes for you. We got bikes for you. You don't even got to fly with them.
Sick. That's perfect.
Yeah. Easy.
All right, man. Well, we'll let you go. I'm sure we'll talk soon. And again, thank you so much, man. This has really been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it means the world, man. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate the time, and thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, definitely. Take care. Have a good one.
Peace out, bro.